Now we're going to talk about the real estate closing timeline. This is really just from beginning to end, the whole transaction spectrum here. So over here, we're going to start with intake. So this is really when the sales contract comes into my office or the closing attorney's office. It's going to be the sales contract. And at this point, the lender, if there is one, is going to send the title request to my office as well. So that's going to be two separate things. So the sales contract and then the lender's title request. Once we get those two items, generally the closing attorney can start work on the file. So at that point in the intake process, the buyer and seller information sheets also typically go out to the respective parties. Typically, that means we would send them out to the real estate agent, or if there's no real estate agents, we would send them directly out to the parties. So once the intake process is taken care of, then we move to the title and pre-closing part of the file. So the title part includes the title search, the title commitment and closing protection letter. That's basically after we finish the title search, we write up a preliminary title opinion, and this title opinion is submitted to the title insurance company. Then the title insurance company is going to send a document back, which is the title commitment, and they also send a closing protection letter to the closing attorney's office, basically saying that they agree to insure the transaction and provide lender's title insurance and owner's title insurance based on that preliminary attorney title opinion. We also work on the seller documents, which include the deed and so forth. We also order the HOA, closing information, and the mortgage payoffs, any lien payoffs, that sort of thing. We also work with the lender almost daily, going back and forth, making sure that they have everything they need, we have everything we need, and actually balancing the closing disclosure so that we get the right amount of funds for the buyer or the borrower. So at that point, we're really getting to the actual closing time. This is when the funds are going to come in to the attorney trust account. At that point, we call it funds delivery. Then there's going to be the actual closing, where the client is going to sign all of the closing documents. That includes a settlement statement. If there's a lender, promissory note, deed of trust, affidavits, and so forth, usually about 100 pages if it's a traditional lender. We will review those documents. Those documents are going to get sent back to the lender for something called funding authorization, which basically means that they're usually sent through a secure portal back to the lender. The lender's going to review them and say, yeah, they look good. We authorize you to record and disperse the funds. So at that point, we're in this phase right here. So we electronically record, or the closing attorney would electronically record the deed and the deed of trust if there's a mortgage in the particular registry where the property is located in. At that point, once the deed and the deed of trust is recorded, the funds can be dispersed, which means right here we have funds out after the closing. So funds in, funds out. So all the funds come into the trust account, all the funds go out of the trust account after the deed's recorded. So after disbursement, then we get into the post-closing process here. That includes the final title policy. So the closing attorney signs something called a final title opinion, and that is what goes to the title insurance company, and the title insurance company can then provide a final title policy to both the lender and the owner. And then we obviously follow up with the lender for other ancillary documents. We follow up with the client for ancillary documents and also the brokerages and things like that. Any post-closing matters we also handle, post-closing title resolution,